Welcome to Dorking Out. My name is Sonia Mansfield, and nobody leaves this place without singing the blues. Joining me is my podcasting sister from another mister and the co-host of Dorking Out, Margo D. Hello, my friend.
I wanted to say, don't fuck with the babysitter, but I forget what the Disney Channel says instead.
They say, don't fool with the babysitter.
Oh, the witch.
It's in my notes. We need to talk about this Disney edit. It is something, let me just say. In some ways, it was an improvement, I actually thought. And then in other ways, I was like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know. Did it say in the description that this is an edited version? Because I didn't see that.
No, it did not.
See, that's kind of shitty.
I think it's totally shitty.
Yeah. If you can't tell, we're dorking out about 1987's Adventures in Babysitting because our Chicago Film Festival continues. This is the first PG-13 movie released by Disney, and it's pretty edited on Disney Plus, FYI. It's written by David Simkins, and it's the first movie directed by Chris Columbus. I didn't know
I've heard of him.
Yeah, I've heard of that guy. If you have, I'm sure you have too. It's Home Alone, Mrs. Doubtfire, first two Harry Potter movies, and it stars Elizabeth Shue, adorable. Everybody drink. The cutest thing ever, Elizabeth Shue. Keith Coogan, friend of the show. Keith Coogan, he retweeted us once, and we're like, friend of the show. He's like our friend now. Anthony Rapp, I was so excited to see him.
Yes.
Penelope Ann Miller, Bradley
Adorable.
Whitford. I totally forgot Bradley Whitford was in this.
What was he? I always think of him as like permanently 40 years old. It's very hard. It's very weird to see him as a young man to me. I don't know why.
He is perma 40. Like,
yeah,
he looks too old to be in this movie for sure. And then we have Calvin Levels, who plays Joe Gipp, George Newbern from Father of the Bride, and Vincent D'Onofrio in a small part.
Unrecognizable.
Yeah.
Vincent D'Onofrio, who did Full Metal Jacket. Like either before or after this.
It's that's a weird one too.
Movies, just in case you're thinking of doing, a marathon of his films.
Yes, very different. Did you see this movie in the theater?
I saw it several times in the theater. It
Me
was one
too.
of my favorites of 87. It was one of my summer of 87. I want to see a movie. What are we going to see again? Let's go see that one again. I completely adore this movie.
Yes.
I'm a little annoyed with myself because it took me a while to realize watching the Disney version how edited it is.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, do I go back and do I pay and watch it again? And then I said, no, I got enough to pay for.
No, because where it's
not
edited
that much.
Yeah, where it's edited, it's for language. And I was like, that's not a big deal to me. Like, it's not changing the overall plot or any of the things that I always loved about the movie. It's just, instead of saying fuck, they say fool, or instead of bitch, they say witch. It's like pretty obvious editing. The one that I was like, this actually makes it better is there are some like gay slurs in the original. I don't know if you remember that. There's a whole thing about they're calling... No. The little girl in the movie is obsessed with Thor, and she was doing it before it was cool, FYI. She was super into Thor, and her brother keeps calling Thor a gay slur. And they changed it to weirdo. Thor's a weirdo.
It doesn't make sense.
No, but it's still better than a gay slur.
It's better than, of course.
Yeah,
so I'm like, word. Absolutely.
So I'm like,
totally accept that.
In that way, I will accept that. I also saw this movie in the theater, and I saw it many times. There weren't a lot of movies that starred girls, and I say girls, like not women. Elizabeth Shue's like 24 playing a teenager, but like there weren't a lot of movies starring teenage girls or with a character with a teenage girl. So I was really excited. Like I was practically the same age as this character. So
yeah, and she's the hero.
Exactly. And
which is the best part.
I loved it. It did open like the same weekend as Inner Space, so I probably did like a double feature because I know I saw Inner Space right away when that one came out because I loved Inner Space.
And Dennis Quaid's butt.
I love Dennis Quaid's butt.
It's a thing of beauty.
So if you haven't seen Adventures in Babysitting, you should go watch it and then come back. But in this, and now you're back. Okay, thank you. So Elizabeth Shue's character is named Chris, and she is supposed to have her anniversary date with her boyfriend, played by Bradley Whitford, who is, like you said, perma 40. Like, I don't understand.
There's
like,
just something about him that's just very adult.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, his hair is already kind of receding. Like, he's supposed to be a teenager, right? He's supposed to be a high school
I think
senior.
he's college.
Is
he?
He's
a college guy. Yeah. I think he's like a college freshman or something.
Okay.
Still. I think that's the deal. Yeah. But still, yeah. he's supposed to be like 18 or 19 and he doesn't. That's not a knock against him. It's just some people just look grown up at a young age.
I love Bradley Whitford. I do.
He's awesome.
Yeah, I super love him. He's always great. And like in the 80s and 90s, he was really good at playing jerks. Like
he was playing like, those kind of 80s pricks. He was what they're William Zabka. Like,
yes,
that was his wheelhouse.
He's super good at it. So he's supposed to take her out to this like fancy French restaurant in Chicago. It's their anniversary, and he says that like his sister's sick, and he has to stay home and babysit, and he cancels on her. So she takes a babysitting job that night, and that's this little girl Sarah who's obsessed with Thor, and she's like 8, and then Keith Coogan is Brad, and he's 15, and he has a crush on her, and basically everyone is embarrassing him in front of her, and it's really awkward, and I feel so bad for him.
When the mother points out that he has zits, like, don't eat chocolate. It's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, I'm like, this poor kid.
I think it's the fun of having teenagers because they're so annoying.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, it's passive aggressive, but it's how you win.
Yeah, seriously, go on TikTok right now and you can watch a million videos of especially mothers trying to embarrass their teenagers. It's a thing. That will be me, by the way. I will totally be doing that. And then we get Anthony Rapp, who is plays Keith Coogan's best friend, and he's like a really obnoxious 80s teenager type.
He's really bad.
He's like, really obnoxious,
like right away.
Yes. Yeah, he starts immediately like acting like a real creep, but in a safe 80s way. I don't think he's too bad, but well, he does do a couple of things where I'm like,
he's on the cusp.
Yes.
He could become a good person or he could become one of those college shitheads.
Yeah, he could grow up to be Bradley Whitford.
Yes.
So Chris's best friend is Penelope Ann Miller, and she's decided to run away from home, but she didn't think it out very well because she used all of her money to take a cab. You know, like you do when you're a teenager. When you're a teenager, to a train station, and now she's at the train station and she has no money. And there's a lot of stuff about like the city is really scary, and there's a lot of crazy people. You know, I shouldn't say crazy. There's a lot of like mentally ill people, and there's a man with a gun that keeps like flashing his gun at her and like smiling. I was like, what is that? And an old man who's like, get out of this phone booth, like get out of my house. And I will say you could argue that stuff doesn't age well, but I think when you're a kid who grew up in the suburbs, the city is really scary.
That is what you see. And it's like, it's how you handle it is like, because my dad was a city kid.
Yeah.
So he raised us to kind of like overlook things and just sort of keep to yourself, keep going. My mom was the one who was a spaz. Like my dad's big thing was like, if we were taking the subway, if we saw a rat on the tracks, we had to just ignore it. You couldn't be like, oh my God, there's a rat. It would really annoy him. He's like, look, if it's up here with us, then you could scream. And he goes, but it's down there. Just ignore it. He wasn't going to raise a candy ass. But that's not what Penelope Ann Miller is dealing with. I mean, and bus stations are hairy.
Yeah.
Let's just say that.
I mean,
still.
It's true. Bus stations, train stations, they all attract like all kinds of different people. So you are, and if you're not used to that, it's scary.
You don't know how to handle, and you'll just be really out there with it. Like, I am terrified right now. All of you are scaring me versus acting like I don't even notice it.
Yeah, I remember I grew up in a suburb of San Francisco, about 30 miles away. And when I would come into San Francisco, that was the big city. It's the big city. And I was very intimidated by things I saw here because I did not. And now I live here and I was like, whatever. Like, I don't even notice things. Like, my nieces come to visit and they're like, that man is naked. And I was like, huh? Like, I don't even notice it. Like, it doesn't mean anything to me.
It's so funny.
Calvin doesn't even care. Calvin is 9 years old, grew up in the city, and we were driving somewhere and there were naked guys, but they were wearing their face masks, like, and Calvin's like, where are their clothes? And I was like, I don't know. And he's like, well, maybe that's why they're wearing their masks. They're going to go out and buy some clothes. And I'm like, maybe.
Okay.
He's not even like, oh my God, naked people. He's just like, meh.
Yeah, she's a suburban kid.
Yes, exactly.
She's very sheltered. It's 1980s. I'm sure she doesn't, there's no internet. There's no way to kind of know other places. And I'm sure she just wasn't prepared for a Chicago bus station, train station, wherever the hell she is.
For sure.
In the middle of the night. It's always hairy.
Yeah. So Chris decides to pack up all these kids, get in her mom's station wagon, and drive into Chicago to pick up her friend at the train station. And that's when this movie turns into one of those like One Crazy Night movies. And everything that can go wrong goes wrong for these people. Like, she gets a flat tire. They get a tow truck driver named Pruitt who has a hook for a hand. And then he finds out his wife is cheating on him, and he takes them there instead of taking them to get their car fixed. And there's like a gun and all, like, just everything that could go wrong goes wrong. And they end up getting in a car with a car thief named Joe. And then Joe, instead of taking them, once again, not taking them somewhere to be safe, he takes them to the chop shop where he's going to drop off the stolen car. And now they're all involved in like a car stealing ring. And it also involves a Playboy magazine that has
a picture of a woman that looks just like her. And,
yes.
And apparently she really shot those pictures at the Playboy Mansion.
Why they had to do it at the Playboy Mansion, I don't know. To make it feel
real. It was the only way they could get the logo. It was the only way they could do it, that Hugh Hefner said, she has to come here and we have to do it our way.
Yeah.
But she keeps her clothes on. I mean, it's a very innocent.
Yes. No, you just see like a bareback kind of thing. And yeah. So there's kind of this running gag about the magazine keeps popping up and people are like, oh, it's Miss March or whatever the month is. I forget, to be honest. I want to talk about the character Joe for a second, because I didn't think much about Joe when I saw the movie the first time. Teenage Sonia, didn't pay much attention to it, but now I was thinking how much I like that character, and I kind of feel like in a better, like, well, because I really like this movie, so when I say, let me rephrase that, a different movie, Joe could have been the love interest. They could have made him like a little younger.
Wait, is he the car thief?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Totally. He's very cute.
He's cute. He's really nice to them.
He's super nice to them. Did you? I think I see potential there. Did you see do you remember the part? I forgot about this. They see a teenage sex worker.
Yes.
And she says to like, I'm 17. Yeah, I'm 17 too. And she's kind of like looking, and then they like kind of shrug their shoulders like, all right, bye.
Yeah.
It's like there and then it's gone.
That's such a weird scene.
Yeah.
I'm like, why did they make her? Why in this very teenage it's PG-13, but still kind of family comedy, I guess. Would you introduce the idea of teenage prostitution?
There was a few times. I remember it was on Facts of Life.
Yeah.
There's a few times where it's sort of like, well, if you run away, that's what happens. It's to kind of scare kids from being runaways. And I don't know. And she's worried about her friend at the.
Yes.
Is she at the bus station or the train? The bus station?
I think it's a train station, but it doesn't matter, does it?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Sorry. Let's just say at the station. She's at the station. She's thinking about her friend and what's going to happen to her. I think it's hilarious that Penelope Ann Miller, I can totally relate to this when she loses her glasses.
Oh my God, I laughed out loud.
Because that's my life's freak out. Like if I lose my contacts or my glasses, I'm completely freaked out. And she has that little pet. She thinks it's a guinea pig.
she's like, it's a baby kitten.
It's a kitten.
Yeah, and the janitors are like, lady, put that down. And we're going to kill it. Why would you kill a kitten? It's a gross rat.
She's such a mess. She goes to pay for the hot dog, and she's like, I got this check. Somebody wrote to me. I'm just going to endorse it to you, and you just keep it. Like, how did she go? She doesn't have 50 cents to her name. What was she thinking?
I don't know. I don't know what she was thinking, but there are things in the movie that cracked me up, and that was one of them, that the homeless person steals her glasses, and then the homeless person's like, I can see, and like runs off because they're like, yay. And she's leaves her sunglasses or whatever. Yeah. And then she picks up the cat. And there's also these running things about checkbooks. Like, let me write you a check. I'll write you a check for this and a check for that. And I'm like, oh, checkbooks.
Oh, checkbook and checkbook accounting. Mm-hmm. Oh my God. Yeah.
Kids, if you don't know what a checkbook is, ask your grandparents. Let's see. Oh, so they get away from the chop shop and they are running all over Chicago. And that's when they end up in a blues club on the stage. Like they run in on the stage, and then the guy is like, nobody gets on stage and leaves the stage without singing the blues. And we get what is, I think, probably the best scene in the whole movie.
Well, that's Albert Lee.
I don't know. Who's Albert Lee? Tell me.
Albert Lee is a legend in the blues community. He's one of the best guitarists ever. He's up there with B.B. King and anybody else you've ever heard of. And the blues is very big in Chicago. Blues clubs are. It's a very funny, he just says, look, you have to sing. Mm-hmm. And she's like, well, I don't know how to sing. And then she goes, well, I'm looking out for these kids. And she just starts going with it. And it's really funny. It's completely absurd, but who cares? It's really, really funny.
I love that scene so much. And I love how she starts and she's really nervous. By the end, she's super into it. And now I find myself like, I've been humming the song and I've just been like, and it's so hard babysitting these guys. I get it. It is hard. I wanted to be Elizabeth Shue so bad when I saw this movie. I wanted to be that beautiful and cool and fun.
The camel coat.
I loved it.
I loved her hair.
Yes.
It's just so that whole first scene where she's dancing around. Mm-hmm. I was just like, oh, she's adorable. Everybody drank. She's perfect. She's adorable. I remember, did you used to babysit? Because I babysat. I was young. I was like 12 or 13 when I started.
Yes.
And I had like regular customers. This was when we lived in Pennsylvania, and it was like the country then. And there were times like I babysat till 2 or 3 in the morning, mm-hmm. and it was like me that would watch scary movies and scare the shit out of myself and some children. Like if something really happened, mm-hmm. what was I going to do? I didn't have a car.
Yeah.
I didn't, we were in the middle of nowhere. It's amazing, but parents just want to get away.
Yeah, I get it, by the way. I totally get it.
Totally.
I babysat mainly cousins. I had a lot of younger cousins, so I did a lot of babysitting, and I have to say, I never had these kinds of problems when I was babysitting.
No.
And most kids really behaved for me, because if they didn't, I would say, well, maybe I'll just call my dad and have him come over here. And then people be like, no, don't call your dad. Because my dad's kind of a prick.
I had a thing called the naughty list.
Ooh.
And I would say, look, I'm going to put this by the phone. And when your parents come home, I'm going to list to them all the naughty things you did. Mm-hmm. And so they start giving me lip or something like, something's going on the naughty list. They go, no, I'll brush my teeth. Stop.
The only crazy thing I could think of was once the kids tried to make popcorn in a pan and they didn't put the top on it and the seeds started shooting everywhere. And I was like, what the fuck is happening here? And I had to like run in with a top and like dodge hot seeds. That's like the worst thing I could think of. At no point did we get into a chop shop or have to sing the blues. Although that would be fun, I guess.
Yeah. It seems like they're having a good time. They fit a lot in a few hours.
Yeah, they do. What would you sing the blues about, Margo?
Oh, I guess like the COVID blues. Just
right? I think we all would.
all the things I miss doing, like going to a blues club and doing stuff like that. I miss it.
Mm-hmm. And it's so hard. I can't go to
home.
Trader Joe's.
I just went to Trader Joe's today, actually. But yeah, it's so hard. Like, I can't even think about going on an airplane. I keep hearing stories about assholes. Not keeping them masks on.
Yeah.
The
The government wants to control my body.
My chest is magnetic. Look. There are my keys.
There's so many things. We should all start singing the blues. It'd be like therapy.
Yeah, we'd be total therapy.
I'm into it. There's also a thing in the movie where Brad has this crush on her. That's the Keith Coogan character. And he is like kind of making his play for her throughout the movie. And she's like, you're a child. And I'm like, well, he's 15.
But it's a big difference between 15 and 17.
Yeah.
And they got to know their place. Like, no means no.
That's true. He does. Yeah. She is mainly nice to him, but at one point she calls him a child, and I think that's because by then, though, that's like the third or fourth time he's like made his move. So I think she'd kind of had enough by then.
Yeah. No. No. Complete sentence. No.
So at one point they get on a train and there's a rival fight between some gangs, like some warrior shit going on that train.
Do you know that part, a lot of it was filmed in Toronto?
I read that too. I'm like, but this is our Chicago movie.
Some of it's in Chicago.
Yes.
Like 20%. But the rest is in Toronto, and they had to make it look dirty. Because it's clean up there.
And somehow the Keith Coogan character gets stabbed in the toe. Like, that's weird editing
with the babies. Yeah, they throw the knife. It goes through his sneaker, but it just it's a weird editing. It's a weird injury.
Yeah,
but then they get to the hospital finally. Like, they're around adults that could help them.
But they don't ever get any help, and that's another thing about the movie where I'm like, I love the Chris character so much. I'm like, but technically, you're not a very good babysitter. Like, maybe being grounded is worth it at this point, and you just go ahead and tell people like what's happening. But that's fine. You got to let it slide. This is a One Crazy Night movie. You have to let some shit slide. So we get don't fool with the babysitter. We get a lot. He called you a witch. I'm like, I don't think.
Don't you call me a witch?
Yeah, how dare you call me a witch?
The alternate Queen Latifah song. Who you calling a witch?
I'm a witch. I'm a lover. I love that version. So yeah, they go to the hospital, and for some they tell her that he's dead at one point, and she faints and all this stuff. It's like weird stuff, and then somehow they end up at a college party.
A frat party that night.
A frat party that has a live band. I'm like, I never went to college parties with live bands.
That's Southside Johnny.
Ooh, who's that?
He's from southern New Jersey, by the shore, Asbury Park, New Jersey. He came up at the same time that Bruce Springsteen did. He's had a couple of hits in the 80s. I have a friend that follows him around the world.
What?
Like, I'm not even kidding you. Like, that's where she spends her vacations. He was at her 50th birthday party.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, right, Southside. Okay. I know.
They're
Southside
good.
Johnny.
They're a good band.
Oh, yeah, they're a great band. They're real fun.
It's just funny because I'm like, maybe I didn't go to the right parties. I don't think I ever went to a frat party, so I should just shut my mouth. Maybe frat parties have live bands all the time. I don't know. That was not my jam. And that's where we meet George Newbern from Father of the Bride. And he's a college guy who is instantly into Elizabeth fucking Shue because she's Elizabeth fucking Shue. Like,
exactly.
Duh. Every dude there would be into Elizabeth Shue. And, once again, he's too old for her, but that's the 80s for you.
Yeah.
What do you think about George Newbern in this role?
He's very sweet. He's a nice guy. He's very trustworthy right away. He's not being a creep. He's being helpful. I love like this. They're driving and they're playing Gimme Shelter, like out of a Scorsese film. Like, it's such a weird left turn because they're all like slow dancing at this party. Then they see, of course, and this is so funny. Like, it's so adorable. People have magazines then. Like, that's how you saw your titties.
Cute.
Like that was so cute. And then they all see her there, but then they have to go, and he's going with them. And does she tell him what's going on? I think she tries to keep it.
I think she tells him most of the stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but then we lose the little girl. And they get the money for the car, and they have to get like $500, and they're off by like $20-$40, something like that. And the guy's when Vincent D'Onofrio shows up. Yeah,
and he's all, he's wearing like a blonde wig to make him look like Thor, and he's all muscles and he's so tall.
And skinny,
but he's got the muscles, and they've got him kind of shined up to make him look more muscular than he is. I mean, I think Vincent D'Onofrio is so interesting to me. Like, he's such a quirky actor, and to see him in a movie like this in this kind of role is so weird. But Vincent D'Onofrio was fucking hot back in the day.
Absolutely.
Like, we all think of Vincent D'Onofrio from like Full Metal Jacket, not hot. Edgar in Men in Black, not hot. He was hot.
Law and Order.
Yeah. I used to love that Law and Order, but
Criminal Intent.
Yeah, I watched it for a long time. He's sexy, but he always plays characters that are not very sexy.
You get the feeling he's kind of a kook.
I'm pretty sure he is.
He's kind of a kook, like a Nicolas Cage or John Travolta. There's something sort of
I always wondered if he was like a Val Kilmer type, like someone who wants his roles to be more than they are, and so they create
difficulty for themselves.
Yes, like they add these little like ticks and things to make the part more than it is, because that's what Val Kilmer would do too, and I think Vincent D'Onofrio might be in that camp. And obviously Val Kilmer is also totally beautiful. And we've sang the praises of him many a time on this show. But yeah, there's a whole thing with Vincent D'Onofrio's Thor, and he doesn't help them at first, and the little girl's like, Thor's supposed to help people. And and then he's like won over, and it's very sweet. And then he helps them, and they get on their way, and that's when they get the car and they're driving back home. And that's when they find Bradley Whitford at the French restaurant driving. They found his car, his like Camaro that has a personalized license plate that says "so cool."
That's a weird touch. That's just a little too.
So I don't know if this is true, because it's in IMDb trivia, but doesn't mean it's true, that is Bradley Whitford's car, and that's his license plate.
He deserves a lot of wedgies if that's true. I refuse to believe Bradley Whitford would be that much of a douche.
Right? I'm like, this can't be true.
No, I think somebody's pulling your chain there.
Probably.
It's like somebody who's like playing a goof on him.
That must be it.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, so they go into the French restaurant.
Martin Sheen.
Martin Sheen's doing that to him.
Just as a goof on him.
And then everyone on the West Wing went in and gave it I found this interesting and gave it
helpful.
That must be it. That's the only explanation.
That's the only thing I can think
or his ex-wife put it in there. She's like, yeah, he would totally do that.
Jane Kasmerick.
Yeah. I was so bummed when they broke up.
I was too, but he's remarried to somebody really cool. She was on the show Transparent. I'm trying to think of other stuff she's done. Anyway, he's very good on Twitter.
Yes, he is.
He is.
I am a fan. I like him very much. So she confronts him in the French restaurant. He's with like one of her like high school classmates. And once again, I'm like, aren't you guys like 18 or 19? They're in this really fancy French restaurant. There's like a bottle of champagne at the table. I'm like,
right.
Okay, that's whatever. Maybe that's the 80s for you. I do love the scene where Brad confronts him and says like, I could only dream of like having a girlfriend like Chris, and you have her and you're fucking blowing it, and you know I'm not gonna punch you or kick you or anything. And then Daryl's like, I would, and kicks him. And I actually did laugh out loud when that happened because I had forgotten that happens, and I'm like, he deserved to be kicked, so I was fine with it. I loved it.
Yeah, it's great.
And then what happens? Oh, and then there's... Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I can't... I'm now like, my brain is... She's on... The girl, Sarah, is on the roof. She's on like the ceiling.
Yes.
The glass ceiling at her parents' party. How the fuck did she get up there?
Oh, that's right. So while all this stuff is going on in the French restaurant, Sarah, the little girl, wanders off to see a toy store that's across the street. And then the bad guys show up, and we've forgotten about the bad guys at this point. We're like, oh yeah, those guys. And they chase her, and she runs into the building where her parents are, because they're at some like big fancy party. And she's like hiding from them, and she climbs out a window, and now she's on the side of a skyscraper, basically, like Mission Impossible style. And they're like getting ropes, and they're trying to help her. And that's when I wrote in my notes, Elizabeth Shue is a terrible babysitter. Like, you know, as a mother of a 9-year-old, I would be horrified to find out that my babysitter let my 9-year-old hang out the side of a skyscraper once again. But then I wrote, that's the 80s for you.
That they have to raise the stakes.
Yes.
But she's okay. They rescue her friend, and they go driving back from Chicago back to the suburbs.
Yes.
And that's when Chris realizes that the parents are in the car right next to her. Mm-hmm. So she has to book it in the station wagon. But okay. I remember them, but I don't remember them being fast. But
yeah,
she books it home. And just as she's cleaning things up, the parents come in.
Yes. It's like some Ferris Bueller shit right there.
Yes. Very Ferris Bueller-ish. And she's like, oh, hey, how you doing? Did you have a good time? You know, and she says goodbye to the kids. And then George Newbern, I don't know how he found her.
So the little girl left her skates in his car, and the skates have a tag that say, if lost, return to.
Okay. That makes sense.
So why wouldn't he show up at a stranger's house at like 1 a.m. to return skates? That wouldn't
go on a date.
Yeah. I'm like, it's fine.
He's cute.
He is cute. He is cute, and I get it. That's the kind of movie it is. And then it ends with like them getting a kiss, or they kiss, and you know the song plays, and we're like, yay, that's that. And I still, like I said, I loved it this time. I loved it when I watched it back in the day. It's really enjoyable and fun, and there are so many One Crazy Night movies, and I really like this one. I think it's fun.
Yeah, I loved it. It's got me excited to get to Chicago.
Yes, me too.
I forgot. It's really funny. It's got a lot of great jokes. It's a good setup. There's no wasted scenes. Like everything makes sense. Great characters in there. Vincent D'Onofrio is Thor. Before we get Thor, like 25 years later, we have this Thor, and he's great.
Yeah.
And yeah, I super enjoyed it.
Me too. There's a couple. I read basically like every actress in the world was apparently considered for this part. Did you read that too?
Yeah.
So it was like the ones that stuck out to me were Sharon Stone. And I'm like, wouldn't she have been too old for this part? But maybe not. I mean, Elizabeth Shue was 24. So Heather Langenkamp from Nightmare on Elm Street. I almost said Nightmare Before Christmas. Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yep.
Julia Louise Dreyfus apparently auditioned for the role. Julia Louise Dreyfus is another one where I'm like, kind of a Bradley Whitford, like perma 40 to me.
Yeah. Yeah. She's Margo in the National Lampoon Christmas movie. Yeah.
And she looks the same as she does in Seinfeld, like 10 years later or whatever. Yes.
She's just one age.
Yeah.
It's not teenager.
And I love her. Then there's other people like Michelle Pfeiffer. Valerie Bertinelli was probably pretty close to getting the role. And Justine Bateman. And I'm like, I do love me some Justine Bateman. And someday we're going to talk about Satisfaction. It's going to happen.
We can get our hands on it. Yeah. When streaming.
Release Satisfaction, you cowards. So I made a list of other One Crazy Night movies.
Oh, great. Let's do it.
Because we have done 1987 movies a lot. So After Hours.
Great movie.
Haven't seen it in a really long time, but really liked it when I saw it. It's actually, I think it's on Criterion Channel now. So I should revisit. Before Sunrise.
Great movie.
Yeah. I don't know if it counts as a One Crazy Night, but it does happen over one night. So I put it on the list.
It's not crazy, but it's
Super Bad.
I think I've seen it. I don't remember it.
I remember really liking Super Bad, but I haven't seen it since the theater. Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle.
That's a great movie. I'm sorry. That movie fucking cracks me up.
It really cracked me up. And I have...
Neil Patrick Harris
is so funny in it. And I had a little crush on John Cho after I saw it. I'm like...
Oh, yeah.
I was like, cute. Blind Date. Bruce Willis.
Not a good movie.
Not a good movie at all. American Graffiti.
Yep.
That's a good one. House Party.
I love House Party.
We did a whole episode on House Party, and we love it. 200 Cigarettes. I'm like...
Yeah, not my favorite.
Did you ever see Modern Girls?
Yeah, I love it.
Modern Girls is on my list to watch. I haven't seen it since the 80s, and I think I'm going to revisit it. And then the last one on here is Go.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's another one that stars Jeff Bridges and Michelle Pfeiffer, but I don't know if it's one night. It could be.
Oh, you're thinking of Into the Night with Jeff Goldblum and Michelle Pfeiffer. Yeah. That's another One Crazy Night movie. I should rewatch that one too.
I know. I haven't seen that in a long time. I remember really liking it at the time. Yeah.
I love me some Michelle Pfeiffer. So I'm writing Into the Night. Writing it down.
Yeah.
Good call. Good call, Margo. You're smart. All right. On the list.
Okay. Now, are you ready for some 87 songs?
Yeah, I am.
This is all that was popular in the summer of 1987. This is America, like the pop hits, let's say. Like Casey Kasem would count these down. Let's start with the Bangles, Walk Like an Egyptian.
I loved the Bangles.
I love the Bangles, too. You could not escape that song. Gregory Abbott, Shake You Down. I'm gonna shake you down. Well.
I still love this song.
That's a great makeout song.
It is.
Whitney Houston, I Want to Dance with Somebody.
I love that song too.
Great song. White Snake, Here I Go. Great song.
I just listened to that song the other day and was like, this song is dope. And like
put it
on some playlists.
Yeah. Billy Idol, Monet.
Billy Idol gets it.
Yeah. Here's another song, Los Lobos, La Bamba. You could not escape that song.
I was taking Spanish at the time that this song was popular, and we actually listened to that song all the time in class. I'm like, ugh. But yes, it was everywhere. It's a good song.
It's a good song. And my favorite song of the year, Crowded House, Don't Dream It's Over.
Oh, I loved Crowded House.
Loved them. And that's like the best song.
It is. It's so good. I'm going to listen to Here I Go Again after we're done recording this, actually. I'm going to make that my new mantra. What else are you dorking out about, Margo?
We talked about Elizabeth Holmes before.
Mm-hmm.
She's on trial right now for, what was the name of her company? Theranos?
Theranos? Not Thanos.
Not Thanos. I always screw that with Thanos. Because I got really into the Avengers the last couple of years. It's Theranos, and it was this company that they were going to revolutionize medicine. They were going to, you just take a little prick of your blood and they could tell you everything that's wrong with you and prevent you from getting cancers. It was going to change everything. And it turned out to be the phoniest of balonies. Mm-hmm. And she was the head of the company. And at times she ran it along with her former boyfriend, current boyfriend. It's unclear.
Yeah.
It's their relationship, but they didn't tell people they were a couple.
Right.
And she balls the size of church bells, this one. She gets in trouble with the government and loses a ton of money for people and just moves to San Francisco, meets a hot younger guy, moves in with him, doesn't like go. She goes to, what's that desert festival I'm thinking of?
Burning Man.
She goes to Burning Man with him. She's walking around with her big wolf dog, the dog she said was a wolf. She marries the guy.
Yes.
He's super wealthy. And then she's up for trial because of COVID. They had to back it a few times. They had to postpone the date. They finally get a date. And guess what? She manages to have a baby like a month before she goes to trial. So she's going to trial right now. She got some goddamn great lawyers. I'm sorry. The reason I'm saying this is because ABC had a podcast called The Dropout that I was obsessed with. It's one of the reasons we started the show.
Yes.
Was because I love that podcast so much. I wanted to do What a Creep. That show I'm talking about.
Elizabeth Holmes is one of our first episodes that we did.
Yeah.
And Margo's amazing Elizabeth Holmes impression.
I got to work on it again because so this time ABC News is producing this podcast, The Dropout, and they're just going to go week by week by what happened. So they're just sort of did this rundown of like, this is what Elizabeth Holmes has been doing the last few years. And her husband, I think they're married. I mean, he's comes from some money. It's a hotel family. They're not the Hiltons, but they still have a lot of money. But she got attorneys that they're thinking so she's probably spending about $10 million on her defense because she doesn't want to serve a day in jail. And it's tougher for juries to send a woman, especially with a mother.
A new mother.
That's
she's changed her appearance too. Like she's way softer now.
Very soft. She also, they were going to be tried, her and Sonny, her ex-lover, ex-COO, they were going to be tried together. His trial's now been postponed till January. She's going to get the trial first. And she's going to go, now she's using the defense of, I don't know if it's battered woman syndrome, but she's going to say that she was under coercive control, that he was a monster to her and he completely brainwashed her, and I don't know. We'll find out. And she might even take the stand, which will be cray. But I just listened to the first 2 episodes of this new season, and I'm totally into it. I can't wait to find out, how it's going to go.
I'm going to download that and listen to. I can't wait to hear how it plays out.
Yep.
That's a really good pick. Thanks for the tip. Writing that one down.
Yeah.
She's such a creep.
She really is. I mean, I really, if she was abused, and I, there's no excuse for that. And absolutely, it can make you go a little nuts. It can make you forget things. It can make you do a lot of things. But, it doesn't make you a bad boss. It doesn't make you as someone who would just take money from people and lie to them.
Yeah. I don't know. And she was doing some pretty creepy things before she even met this guy. So.
Oh, yeah. And like lots of employees are like, Sonny wasn't even there when she was pulling crap.
Yeah. It's like that's interesting, though. I'm going to start listening too.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Like, do I change my mind? Do I, who knows?
Good choice. I have two things. I wanted to circle back on The Chair, which you recommended last week. I started watching it and I'm like, I'm in.
Yep.
I'm in. It's really enjoyable. Like, I really like it. I love Sandra Oh so much. And I'm happy to see Holland Taylor. I'm really into it so far. I'm only like 2 or 3 episodes in, but good rec. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
And then the other one is I actually read a book, which longtime listeners will know I'm a notoriously slow reader and rarely recommend books on here. But I finished a really light romance called Beach Read by Emily Henry. And it's really, really cute and really light. And I was like, this is exactly what I need with everything that's going on in the world. And it's about a romance novelist and this man another novelist who writes like dark fiction, like trying to write the like great American novel, like serious writer type. They meet cute. And then they make this bet to swap genres. So like she's going to write like the dark fiction and he's going to write a romance novel. And, this is not a spoiler, but they fall in love. And there's all kinds of issues that could probably be easily solved if they would just talk about it, but they don't. And I still really liked it. It is so light. It is so easy to read. It was just what I needed right now. It's like everything is too much. Like everything, it's literally like everything's flooding where Margo lives. Everything's on fire where I live, and then in the middle of the country we have tornadoes and a huge abortion ban in Texas that is like everything's crazy. And I needed something that didn't weigh on me, and that was exactly this. It's really good, and Emily Henry's written a couple other books that I hear are just as delightful. So I'll be adding some light romantic comedies to my book pile to get through this crazy time. Do you read? Yeah. Do you ever read romance novels? Because you read a ton of books, but
yeah, it's never been my thing.
Yeah,
I read a lot of nonfiction.
Right.
That's mainly where I go, and then I do so much reading for book versus movie, which is everything.
Yes,
everything. But it's not my favorite genre, but I don't hate it. My mom was a huge romance novelist.
Yeah,
person.
My mom too.
Harlequin romances.
Yep.
My mom had, oh my God, stacks of them. I just would tear through them. Yeah, and she loved it. It was just brain candy. It's just something she enjoyed.
Yeah, I usually, when I read, like I said, slow reader here, I tend to read collections of essays written by funny women. So like I'll read like Tina Fey's book or Amy Poehler's book or Ali Wong's book, that sort of thing. Things that like you can read like one chapter at a time and each chapter is like a self-contained essay, that sort of thing. Or I read books about autism. So I don't read a lot of romance novels. So this was a really nice diversion, and it was recommended to me like 3 times by 3 different people. And I was like, okay, like that's my cue to put it on the list. And they were right. So if you're looking for something light, listeners, not Margo, she's not going to read this unless they make it into a movie.
I have nothing against it. I mean, I read all the time. It's just, yeah. I like the premise.
Yeah, it's cute. It's super cute. It's not challenging at all, which is great. Just what I needed.
Yep.
Where can people find you on the internet, Margo?
You can find me on social media at Brooklyn Fitchick, mostly for Twitter and Instagram. And my site is brooklynfitchick.com.
Everybody follow Margo on all the channels, especially Instagram, because she's writing a book about movies that are filmed in Brooklyn, and she's posting the most awesome photos of different movie sites. I think they're really good. I'm excited. I can't wait to read your book.
I can't wait to publish it.
It's going to be so good. And if you like the sound of our voices, and I assume you do because you're not a monster, we also co-host a podcast called What a Creep, where we talk about a creep from the past or the present. And then we end every episode with someone who's not a creep, so you don't think the world's a dumpster fire. The episode out right now is Richard Scott Smith. He is the subject of the documentary Love Fraud. And it's about a creep who swindles lonely women out of their money. He's a real fucking creep. So, but that's out there. And then you could find me at thesoniashow.com, where I'm actually writing again, and The Sonia Show on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok, where I make videos of my dogs mainly. And if you want some stickers for Dorking Out Show, email us at dorkingoutshow@gmail.com. Give us some reviews on Apple Podcasts. We'll be your best friends. And you can follow us on Dorking Out Show on Twitter, and we're on Facebook. We don't interact that often on there. It's mainly where people go to complain about our language. So this was super fun, Margo. I'm so glad that we got to talk about Adventures in Babysitting, and I can't wait to see you in Chicago. We're going to have the best time.
You won't be able to miss me. I'm going to have a camel coat with a multicolored scarf, and I'll be in a station wagon.
And it's so hard.